Hi everyone, welcome to learntocook.com. My name is Chef Fernando Mojica. Thanks for joining us today. Today we're going to be preparing basic mozzarella sticks. We're going to prepare them from scratch. Really simple to make once you're preparing from scratch. Doesn't take too much of a time, and it's really simple, really fun to play with. So the ingredients we're going to utilize today are going to be mozzarella cheese, and we've cut the cheese into sticks about 1/4 of an inch by 1/4 of an inch by 2 inches long. We're going to need some eggs that we've beaten lightly, and we add a little bit of water just to thin them out a little bit, make an egg squash out of them. We're going to need some Parmesan cheese that we grated. We're going to need some bread crumbs, and then we're also going to need a little bit of flour. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a basic standard breading procedure. So what we're going to do for that is we're going to get 3 containers. Basically, we're going to toss them in a little bit of flour. Again, get rid of all the excess, just enough to cover it, all right? You don't want too much flour in there. Into the egg yolks, mix them around, again, cover them. You don't want a lot of it. But once it is covered, drain the excess, and then you're going to put them into the breadcrumbs. Toss them, same thing. You want to make sure that it's not too much breadcrumbs. You don't want big spats with a lot of breadcrumbs in it. You don't want some spats that don't have a lot of breadcrumbs in it. Once you do that, you're going to set them aside, put them on a tray. And what I did here is we're going to freeze this. So what I did is put a tray, put an oven rack next to it or a roasting rack next to it. That's just going to, once we put them in the freezer, it's going to help the air circulate a bit better. It's going to make sure that everything freezes completely all the way around. Where if you just put them on the tray, you might have some spats out more frozen than others. So this just works a little better. If you don't have an oven rack, just put a little bit of parchment paper in it, and it's fine. So we're going to do that with all the sticks. Again, flour, a little bit of egg, and then the breadcrumbs. All right, so once we have all our cheese sticks breaded for the first time, what we're going to do is going to go back and bread them a second time. What that's going to do is that's going to add a little bit more crunch to it, a little bit more texture to it. It is also going to prevent the cheese from completely melting and once we cook it. So that's going to, that breading is going to stick to the cheese. It's going to make it so that once we cook it, the cheese is not going to just come off the bread, it's going to melt, all right? So we're going to just do the same thing with all of them. Again, you want them one hand dry, one hand wet, and we're just going to do a second coating on all of them. Once that second coating is done, what we're going to do is going to put them in the freezer. And this is going to take anywhere from about an hour to 3 hours, depending on how big the sticks are, depending on the type of freezer you have. But you want to make sure that the cheese sticks are completely frozen before you actually cook them. And from there, you can either fry them or you can put them in the oven. Okay, so what we've done is we have our mozzarella sticks. Remember, we froze them a little bit earlier on. Now they're nice and frozen now. What we did is we put a pot here and we warm up canola oil or corn oil, whichever one you prefer you want to use. Now, the thing with the oil is you want to be very careful because you want to use an oil that has a high heat point. What I mean by a high heat point is an oil that's going to receive temperature well. So resist temperature, what I mean by that is, so if you going to deep fry something, you don't want to use olive oil because it has a low flame point. And so what that means is that it's going to start getting into a fire at a very low temperature. So the canola oil, the corn oil, they're a little bit more resistant to heat. So you want to warm that up. You want to be careful doing this, all right? Want to make sure that the oil doesn't splatter you. And you're just going to put your mozzarella sticks into the oil. You want to be careful when you do this. Now you're going to have the oil at about 325 degrees, no more than 350, okay? Because then it's going to get way too hot. So you're going to put your mozzarella sticks here. Going to let them go for about 1 minute to 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. But you don't want to overcook them because it's going to, one, the breading that we have is going to get way too brown or way too dark. And then two is that cheese is going to start melting. It's going to start spreading apart. You're going to make a mess on your fryer. So once it starts literally about 1 or 2 minutes later, 3 minutes at the most, you want to pull them out. And what we have here is we have a plate and we have a paper towel. What the paper towel is going to do is we're going to put this here. Once they come out, the oil is going to absorb all that extra oil before we plate it, so that once we start plating it, we don't have a lot of oil on our mozzarella stick. So as we go, we're going to start taking them off, and once it starts to get nice and color, again, the oil doesn't have to be too hot. You don't want it to be way over hot because again, it's not going to cook properly. Again, you want to be careful when you put them in so that you don't splatter yourself with hot oil. This is where This is where kitchen safety comes into play, okay? So once we have these, we're gonna go ahead and plate them up, and as an accompaniment to this, we're gonna use a little bit of marinara sauce that we prepared earlier on today. Okay, so we have our mozzarella sticks out of the fryer. They're been resting here for a couple of minutes to get rid of all that excess oil. We have a little bit of marinara sauce that we prepared earlier on, and we're just gonna go ahead and start plating them. Again, this is really quick finger food. You can use these, you can use this as an appetizer, use this as a, as a quick finger food. So it's really easy, really fun to make. I hope you enjoyed today's presentation. And again, my name is Chef Fernando Mojica with LearnToCook.com. Thank you for joining us, and I'll see you next time.
Well, thanks for joining us today at LearnToCook.com. Be sure to comment and to subscribe. Also visit us on Facebook and Twitter. Have a great day, and thank you.